In this video, we're going to show you everything that you need to know in order to use the group 1-2 section on your audio mixer. Not only will this unlock your audio mixer, it'll give you more routing options, but it will actually make your life a lot easier when you're mixing a large mix, and it will give you a whole bunch of different options to use external equipment if you want, like external reverb units or external compressors. Not only are we going to walk you through why I would want to do all these things, but we're literally going to show you exactly what buttons to press in order to make this happen. So everything that you need to know about this group 1-2 section, we're going to show you in this video. Now in this video, I'm just using a small audio mixer here. I'm using the Yamaha MG12XU. It is the smallest audio mixer that I have that has a group 1-2 section. Just because I have this mixer, everything I show you will still work on your audio mixer, whether it's large or small. Now, if you are looking for pricing or specs for anything that you see in this video, we have links down in the description below. Now, first of all, where do you find this section on your audio mixer? If your audio mixer has a group section, you will always find it right next to the master fader. Typically, your master main stereo output will be one color, then you'll have a group of faders next to it between 1 and 6 of these group outputs that are a different color, but always near it. Typically, this is always down in the bottom right of your audio mixer, but if you have a really big audio mixer, this can sometimes be located right in the middle. Now, before we get into all the different scenarios of using this group area, I do just want to say that everything else that you do on your audio mixer still matters. The group section is generally one of the later sections that I will set up. So you connect your microphone properly, you turn everything on, you set up your gain properly, you set up your panning properly, you make sure your channel is turned on, and you set your fader. It is important to know that the reason that this is called group 1-2 is because even though it's a single fader, it is still 2 channels. You're still getting a stereo output here. So any panning that you do will be preserved if you route this channel into the group 1-2 output. Same goes for the fader. If the fader is turned all the way down, there is nothing that you can do on the group 1-2 output to get more level. This is a final stage. So how it works is your input comes all the way down the channel strip. Then here you can choose where it gets routed. It comes across here, and then it is affected by the group 1-2 output. Now let's talk about these routing buttons here. This is actually super cool. So with the group 1-2, you can choose to send this channel by pressing this button to the group 1-2. This doesn't necessarily mean that it goes all the way to the stereo mix. Through the scenarios that we're going to talk about in this video, sometimes we're going to want to send this input channel here to both group 1-2 and the main stereo output. You can do that. There's going to be times that we want to send it just to the stereo output if we just want to set a mix, and there's times that we want to set it to just be the group 1-2 so it can get further processed or routed or something like that through some of the scenarios that we're going to talk about. All of these are different options that you have throughout the scenarios that we're going to show you in this video. Now, the first way that I like to use a group output here is if I just need a clean feed to a different section of the sound system. I have a couple different examples here. First, the most common example is if I'm using a drum set or if I have my whole mix here, I generally only want to send my kick drum and my bass guitar to the subwoofers. So what I'll do here is say I have my main mix, everything's going. I'll route everything to the main stereo mix. So it's all going to the top end speakers. So my main stereo output will be connected to my mid-high speakers. Then I'll use the group 1-2 output at the top of the audio mixer, and I'll connect these two to my left and right subwoofers. Then I would just select my kick drum and my bass guitar to go to 1-2 as well. This way I get independent volume control over my subwoofers, and I get a way cleaner mix in my subwoofer. I'm not worried about bleed from the microphones, from a keyboard, from a horn section, anything like that, rumbling the subwoofers. This is a good way to really tighten up the lower frequencies in your mix, and it gives you a lot more control over the low end. Another way that you can use this same technique, say that you're feeding a different section of your venue. So maybe your main stereo output is just doing everything inside the main auditorium, but maybe you have a need to have independent volume control over something in the lobby. What can happen is you want to send all your channels to that sub 1-2 group. So now this group 1-2 is feeding the lobby. What you can do here is you can make the lobby quieter now during the main session, and you can make it louder when the lobby is full of people, so you can contact them or make announcements as to when the show is going to start again. That's another great way to use a group 1-2. This is very similar technique as how you'd use aux-fed sub. You just select the channels that you want to go to this area, and then you connect the speakers that you want to the group 1-2 output. Now, the second way that I like to use this a lot is if I'm mixing a really big production. So I'll have a group of background vocalists, I'll have a drum set, I'll have a lot of groups of kind of similar related channels, and I'll want to make my mixing a lot easier. So let's break down, I think drums are the easiest way to break this down. So say we have my drum kit here, it's a 5-piece drum kit, and I have my mix all set. Instead of sending these channels to the main stereo output, what I'll do here is I'll just route them to that 1-2 group 1-2 fader. So now I have independent volume control over all of these channels at once. If I want to turn the drums up or down, I don't have to move them all down or all up together. I can leave that there, and then I can move one fader. Now, they don't automatically go to the main stereo mix until I press this button here. This will take the group 1-2 group of channels and send it to the stereo fader. So I can press that, and now everything that I do on this fader will affect all the drum inputs together to turn it up or down. I would also use this, like I mentioned, for a group of background vocalists, exactly the same thing. If I have 5 background vocalists, I'm not going to want to turn them all up or down together. I'll set their blend so they're blended nicely, and then I'll move it all up and down as I want more or less background vocals throughout a particular song. Now, another thing that you can do with this, a third way that you can use this, is you can use this as a way to connect a group of channels to an external reverb unit. So say here I have 4 vocalists, and they're all going to the main stereo mix. So all 4 of those are going through to the stereo fader. That's great. They sound good in the room, but if I want to add reverb to them, and if my audio mixer doesn't have a built-in effects engine, what I can do is I can also send those channels to group 1-2, then I get them here. So they're all going to the main stereo fader as their dry vocals, and then here on group 1-2, this will affect what I send to the reverb unit. So now I can connect group 1-2 here to an external reverb unit. I can set the reverb that I like, a nice hall or plate or small room or something like that. Then I can bring that reverb unit back into one of these stereo pairs, turn this on, route that to the stereo, and now I get a fader that just has the reverb for those vocals. So the vocals are going through dry to the stereo fader, and then I get another fader here that gives me independent control over the reverb that I'm adding to those vocals. This is a really nice way, especially on a small audio mixer like this that you can only apply one reverb at a time. Maybe you've already used this up on a group of channels and you want a different type of reverb, say on a drum kit or something like that, or a different group of vocals. You can do this by sending a group of those channels to an external unit and then bringing it back in on an empty channel strip as your fader here. Now, the other way that you can do this, and the routing is actually different for this than for the reverb unit that we just talked about, but say you want to add compression to a group of channels. Say you want to compress your kick and snare together or something like that. So you have 2 channels here. Now, you can send them, instead of sending them to the main stereo mix, what you would do is you'd send them to 1-2, then you can control the volume here. Now this 1-2 would set the group output. So you'd send this to your compressor, and then you'd bring your compressor back in to your audio mixer here. You turn it on and route that to the stereo. So you're sending an uncompressed signal through your group output into your compressor, and your compressor is giving you back a fully compressed signal that you can come in. Now this will be the volume that you have on that compressed kick and snare sound that you can send to your main stereo mix on your audio mixer. Now it's important to note that you can actually stack and combine a lot of these concepts as well, depending on the size of your audio mixer. If you have multiple groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that type of thing, then you can combine a lot of these concepts. You can take a group of faders here and you can patch them to group 1, 2 to make a submaster for you. You can patch that same group of faders to group 3, 4, and that group, maybe that would feed an external reverb unit that you bring back in. So you get a submix now for your level of that group vocalist that's going out. Then you also get another fader that controls the reverb and effects on it. You have all types of different options here. You can mix and match any of the things that I showed you to get the results that you want. Once you understand some of these concepts, it really does make your life a whole lot easier, and it simplifies your workflow behind an audio mixer like this. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.